Volapede Works here, coming to you once again after a very long break with One Piece chapter 1117 entitled Mo. So, we have our cover page again. Yamato has met up with Higoro and Nekomamushi, so her journey continues. I like that she's still wearing the backpack though, that's pretty good. But yeah, I guess we're still just going around Wano. Cut to the first page, brother. Wait, after 20 years? Because I don't think they've been around since chapter 67. We got Krieg, baby! Dog Krieg. Gin after 20 years of theorizing where he would show up. He is here with Krieg on the pirate island. Blackbeard's home base. Oh, yeah! And then, of course, we have Pearl. Pearl, Krieg, and Gin all together again. This is cool. I tell you, like between this and I think 116, it's been a callback of old faces. I love it. I absolutely adore it. So the only guys left are Axe-Head Morgan and Kuro. Axe-Head Morgan has not appeared yet. Kuro, I know, appeared in our art request I think almost a year ago now, at least 6 months ago. He was in our request. I know he was. But yeah, those two have yet to appear in the manga. But Krieg, Gin, and Pearl, baby. They're all here. Krieg is sporting long hair. Gin is sporting long hair. Pearl, even though he's a little doodle in the back, he looks relatively the same. This is great. I love that they're all back. I love it. So they're working for Blackbeard. How odd. But yeah, they made it past the Blues again into the Grand Line. That's great. Yeah, they went to the Grand Line. Yeah. Wow. And then all the guys on Hachinosu are just talking about how there's treasure at the bottom of the ocean, yada, yada. But it's interesting that people are reacting to Vegapunk's news in this way. And that's how a pirate would react. Like, oh, there's so much treasure out there. Then we get a cut to Mont Blanc Cricket and the boys, the diving boys from Jaya. What's interesting too is that Cricket says that the time in which Vegapunk is talking about, the time of the ancient kingdom 800 years ago, was indeed before Nolan's time. So that makes sense because by that time, Nolan was a seafaring man, as was the rest of the world probably. So that places Nolan probably closer to someone like Brook, I assume. Because Brook's time of being active in the world is very interesting. Because there's a bubble in time in which we don't know what's going on. So perhaps maybe when Brook was a child or a young man, Nolan was out there sailing the seas. Because remember, Brook is like, 50 some years removed from the events of the story. So a lot of time has passed. Look how much time has passed within only 2 years. But yeah, and they're pumped up for another expedition, hearing the news about the world having more treasures at the bottom of the ocean. So it's great to see them again in the manga proper. We see them in a cover story, though, to be fair. So this isn't the first time we've seen them active in the current canon. We have seen them in the cover story. Cut back to GS, General Hospital for the Navy. We see our boys coming back from Pirate Island. Kobe, Groose, Kujaku, Kamepo, everybody. Also, we get a glimpse of X-Drakes. That's cool. Everybody's here. And X-Drake's listening in because he's got his own Dendemushi inside his hospital room. So that's cool. And then, of course, we have Hibari. Hibari's back, which is great because she wasn't looking so good. So that's good. She got defrosted, which, I mean, we know that's possible because it happened to Robin and Luffy. So yeah. So everybody is fine. And Garp is presumed dead, I guess. Because he did die with a smile. So he might be dead. We don't know. And then the bum returns from after what? How long has it been? Has it been 5 years? We see Smoker. Now, one thing I didn't know, his blower bike, the cool bike powered by his smoke fruit, can ride on the ocean. So he's doing his best Kuzan impression. I love it. He's doing his best Kuzan impression. I did not know this was an all-terrain vehicle. This is sick. So he's riding on the waves Where he's going, I don't know, but he's talking to Tashigi, and Tashigi's informing him about what happened on Hachinosu. So that's cool. Finally, Smoker's back. Vegapunk keeps talking. We go back to Egghead. The barrier is beginning to lift. The clouds have finished their extension, and the Straw Hats are all coiled up, ready to go, and they're just waiting on Zoro and Jinbei. And we get a little shot of Brook actually filling the cola barrel, so that's cool. Anytime we see Brook, it's a good chapter. But who to interrupt Jinbei and Zoro but Nusjuro? Nusjuro comes galloping in, getting ready to strike the Sunny. And he is a massive. I keep forgetting how big he is. He's bigger than the ship, because you get a size comparison here that Nami is but a tiny speck compared to the enormity that is Nusjuro. Look at this lad. Look how big he is. Goodness gracious. And everyone's surprised. Lilith, Usopp, and Chopper reaction, their eyes are bugging out their heads. Then Jinbei actually does something. He's actually doing something. He does a new fishman jujitsu technique, Kata Guruma, and throws Zoro. So he's doing his best Orlumbus impression. Remember when Orlumbus threw Zoro so he could cut Pika? This reminds me of that. And Zoro comes in with a two-sword style with a technique called Tufavata Bliss. I butchered that name. I cannot pronounce it. And he clashes with Nusjuro. And I guess this is a variant of Rashomon, which is a technique we've seen before. And Nusjuro blocks him. And then in the clash, we get confirmation that Nusjuro's blade is in fact a Kitetsu blade. This was a thing for years that people surmised, especially after we saw Nidai Kitetsu. So this is probably each die to Kitetsu. So this is the first Kitetsu blade. A lot of people say that he's going to get this blade from Nusjuro. We're going to do a video about that. I have my doubts. But it's nice that we have confirmation that this is each die Kitetsu. Most likely. We don't have a name drop yet, but given the naming scheme, Sundai is 3, Nidai is 2, it would only make sense for the first one to be called each die Kitetsu. So that's cool. We get confirmation on that. The clash is huge as the two separate. Jinbei catches Zoro, and Zoro says to launch the ship already. Cut back to Bonnie on the giant ship. We have the giant ship getting ready to set sail. But then we see the entirety, presumably, of the old giant pirates. This is Bragi and Dory's crew, because we have a bunch of Marines reacting to it saying, oh, these old fossils are from 100 years ago. So yeah, these are the old giant pirates. This is really cool. I like the guy with the beard here with the big helmet. He's cool. I like him a lot. So this is really sick. And it's weird. Urban commands the Marines to keep firing, but he's not firing himself. Because remember, he's the guy with like the weird cannon ability that we see early on in Egghead, because he crossed his arms and he pointed his hat towards Body when Saturn gave the command to shoot her down. So yeah, it's weird. But we have Bluegrass, and Bluegrass commands a mechanical sea beast to shoot a hole in the hull of the giant pirate ship. Following that, we see Kashi react to it, but our girl, Vice Admiral Doll, comes in with a named attack, the first one for her in the series so far, and it's called Rock and Roll Blaster. And it's just a hockey barrage, because here we see a little panel of her hockeying up her fist, and she just gives Kashi a beat down. She's great. I love her. I love her. So from this, I assume that she does not have a Dofru, unless hers is a big reveal, because we would have seen it at this point. So she's just a Marine that uses hockey. That's cool, because those seem to be a very rare thing in the grand scheme of things. We don't have a lot of those guys. We got a lot of Dofru users. So that's cool that she's just a hockey user. But I assume, too, seeing as how she was trained by Saul back in the day, that she might be a premier Marine moving forward, especially seeing as how she's involved now in a conflict involving giants. And of course, we know Saul is affiliated with the giant pirates because he commanded them to fish all the books out of the basin left in the destruction of O'Hara to build a library at Elbaf, and we know Saul's still alive. So yeah, she's probably going to be a big deal in Elbaf if there's Marine presence in Elbaf. Very excited to what's to come for her. Very excited, very excited. But following that, we see that Warkari has gone. He's flown the coop. And Luffy reacts to that as Luffy, Dory, and Broggy make their way to set sail. The 5 elders, minus Nazjuro. So Nazjuro is still in the clouds then. But we have Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, and Warcree descend upon the Iron Giant, because now they know the broadcast is coming from the Iron Giant. Vegapunk starts to finish up his message and saying, I have one last message I wish to impart. It is for those of you who are scattered across all over the world. The 5 elders feel the urgency needed to end the message because they don't know what exactly Vegapunk is about to say. They do confirm that this Iron Giant is the same one that attacked Mary George 200 years ago. So, I mean, we knew that, but it's nice they know that. But then, Vegapunk says, those of you who carry the letter D in your name. And when he says that, the 5 elders pop all the way off. But we get another cutaway to Dragon reacting to this with his famous ellipses. We get Sop reacting to this, talking about Ace and Luffy. Kobe reacts to this, talking also about Luffy and Garp. We get Blackbeard reacting to it. I like that. We get Blackbeard reacting to it. And lastly, we get Beppo reacting to it, saying, oh, Captain! So yeah, I mean, we knew Law wasn't dead, but still, it's nice to see him reacting to it. However, the Gorosei attack the robot. Warcree charging into it immediately. When he does that, the signal goes out. Vivi, Morkins, and Wobble react to it going out. Someone of them says D, which is interesting because we now know Vivi is a D. Mars questions, did the signal get jammed? And then we get a title drop of the chapter. Mo is supposedly just an unknown word, or it could be a part of the article also. And after that, the robot is tossed into the air. It falls on the ground. It's still in one piece, so it's basically unscathed. Cut back to Egghead, and York is relieved that everything is over. That's the end of the chapter. No break next week. To break things down, though, I think from this, we're probably going to have a situation in which this is the only true victory for the world government. I think they're going to lose everything else. I think they're going to lose York. I think they're going to lose at least a few of the Seraphim. I think so, because they're just free out and about on the ground. So why do I say this? Because now we have confirmation that Blackbeard is listening in on the message, and we know that Caribou, Van Augur, and Devon are still on the island. So I got a video about that coming out, but I think this is the only victory they're going to get out of this entire scuffle. They'll have the Mother Flame, but they won't have the person to operate it. I don't think they will. But as far as the D message, I think he wants to say there's a traitor among you, or there's a false D among you. That's what I'm getting. There's among you there is. So my first thought is that he say there's a traitor among you, or there is someone not who they seems among you, because it's just weird to me that he starts off with among you. Or perhaps he's saying among you there is a king. Maybe there is a de facto leader of the D clan, a leading family of the D clan. That's also a possibility. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Either he's saying there's a traitor among you, which I can see why, seeing as how they show Blackbeard, and Blackbeard has been denied Roger's treasure by Whitebeard, so he may be a fake D, or he could be talking about a king, in which that could be the Monkey family. The Monkey family could be the reigning family over the D clan, or the ones who started the tradition of giving out the letter D to those who believed in the cause of Nika, perhaps. Don't know. Another thing that just came to mind, I don't know how many people have talked about this, but do you remember at the start of Egghead when Vegapunk just sort of warped into the giant robot? Perhaps then he was placing the broadcast Den Den Mushi within the robot, because he knew that day that it was a possibility that he was going to perish. So he was making preparations way beforehand. I think that is what was going on, because that only makes sense. So I guess, seeing as how he predicted everything else, he predicted his own demise coming very, very soon. At least that's what I'm gathering. So yeah, and that scene at the start of Egghead, that's him placing the broadcast Den Den Mushi, presumably inside the giant robot. But also, going back to Geen, Krieg, and Pearl, it is fascinating that they made it this far. I can't stop thinking about that because they made it out of the blues again, made it up Reverse Mountain, and made it into the Grand Line yet again. So I wonder, based on them making it back here, why did they join the Blackbeard Pirates? Or like, how did that happen? How exactly did that occur? And then furthermore, is Kuro going to be like in Cross Guild? Now that I'm thinking about it, seeing as how we have old arc villains in the Blackbeard Pirates, are we going to have another old arc villain join Cross Guild? Because he kind of fits the aesthetic. He's kind of like a swift trapeze guy, and he's got blades. So I don't know. I could see it, but we'll have to see. But that's just an interesting thought to think about, because it's quite interesting how far back Oda is going to bring forth characters we haven't seen in decades now. I'm enjoying it immensely. But yeah, it's really weird that Gin, Krieg, and Pearl end up on Hachinosu of all places. I would have figured they would have been out high and dry like Foxy and crew that we saw in 116. But no, here they are. So I'm wondering too, are the D clan like poneglyphs? Because the word scatter reminds me of poneglyphs and how they're scattered across the world too. So maybe there was an order from Joy Boy or whomever. Those of you with the D initial need to scatter and make yourselves sparse because we did lose the war. So we need to come back together at another date to reclaim what we lost. I'm spitballing here, but it's just interesting that there's a parallel between the D clan and the poneglyphs. But off of that, I wonder, going back to Smoker, where is he going exactly? And it seemed as though he was dragging something. I don't know what that was. It looked like a box. I'm unsure. But where is he going? And why hasn't he been a part of all these big major marine events as a vice admiral? Because he's not on Egghead. And Egghead was calling for all vice admirals, and he wasn't in the group with Kobe in the gang to invade Hachinosu Island, or Garp in the gang, I should say, to invade Hachinosu Island. So I don't know. What is his purpose now? It's obvious that he's still a Marine. I do like the Kuzan callback and him riding on the ocean like Kuzan rode on his bike. But yeah, it's really weird to think about what is his purpose in the story now, because all the focus has been on Kobe so far as Marine stuff goes. So I wonder what's his purpose now. Furthermore, is he in Sword? Because we haven't really got a confirmation on that yet. It fits his character a lot, I'll say that. It would make sense if he's in Sword like Tashigi's in Sword, but we don't know that. It's also good that we see Drake again. Don't know where Drake is going to end up, because he's kind of in the group of important Marines as things go, but it's kind of hard to place him. And I've often thought, based on how much gas Dahl is getting, is Dahl yet another Marine that's going to be important? And then we have Hina. Hina's always around. Even though she hasn't really been a part of Major's events recently, she's around a lot, which in itself is interesting. But yeah, Dahl is a very interesting factor given that she knows Saul. So will she have some sort of kinship with Robin? Will she be one of the Marines that sort of sees the organization for what it is, especially seeing as how she's being kind of introduced fully with this whole backstory and whatnot at a time in which the Gorosei are on the move and are expressing their abilities. So her placement in the story can't simply be coincidence. She has to be someone important moving forward, especially if we're going to Elbaf after this, which we might not. That's not really clear because, of course, if you know about Fishman Island back in the pre-time skip, detours happen all the time. We were supposed to go to Fisherman Island right after Shibodi, and then we got a whole big detour and the whole Marineford saga. So I don't know. It's never really clear cut. We'll have to see, but it is nice that the story is moving forward. I am wondering if Stussy has become a stowaway now, seeing as how her mission is complete and she did get that send off from Vegapunk Edison. So to that, I don't know, but I'm very invested in Stussy's character. I really want to see where she goes, because as I've made several videos about her now, I do think she's very likely to join the crew, just given how big of a factor she could be in the world moving forward, especially seeing as how, like I said in the video, we don't really know too much about the underworld as a whole. So I think that's going to be a big factor moving on. But yeah, I'm really interested in seeing where things go. Also, we can't call Zoro a scrub anymore. He, like Sanji, did class with Nesjuro. It's weird that they fought the same guy. Don't you find that odd? They both fought Nesjuro, and they both, again, are on equal footing because they both managed to push Nesjuro back. So, can't talk crap about Zoro. He's still him, okay? I'm glad Jinbei did something this chapter because he often doesn't. But this new fisherman technique is lackluster because it's just a shoulder throw, much like what Olamis did. I'm sorry to keep ragging on Jinbei, but again, like, what's the pull here? What's the point of interest? I still don't understand. But we'll see what happens moving forward. And with that, that's all I have for you today. Great chapter. Excellent chapter. Give me your thoughts.